Hey guys, this is Nandhini from the trio. Our previous video on the Italian game hit 10k plus views at the moment, and you guys really liked it a lot. And based on that video, we got suggestions to make another video on how exactly should Black continue in the Italian game or the Guioco Piano or the Guico Piano, however it is pronounced. So that is what we will be doing today. I will be highlighting the basic ideas and plans. And yes, you should definitely complement the study by checking out a lot more games in this opening. Let's begin. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4, and we have the Italian game. And black responds with the classical line playing bishop C5. White goes C3, trying to play D4 next and trying to seize control of the center. And as a black player, the best you could do is play this move knight F6, develop your knight, and keep an eye on this e4 pawn that's unprotected, which will definitely help you in some of the variations, as you will see. And here white continues with this move d4. This is also known as the Greco variation, and this is the main line, and this is what we're going to be having a look at today. And just to let you all know, this is one of the oldest openings ever recorded. I think there are records of the 16th century or so. So you see how old this is, but yet it's really good. Okay, so after d4, black's best move is e into d4 and moves like bishop b6, moving the bishop away. Well, I have a video on this separately where I have explained the do's and don'ts and the basic mistakes black makes in these kind of positions, especially this opening. So definitely do check it out. I will also put the link in the description below. And here e into d4, c into d4 as now white controls the center, and here again black's best move is bishop b4 check, which we are discussing in this video. And again in the previous video, as I've mentioned, I did mention what happens for bishop b6 and why is it wrong. I've explained everything in there, so we're not going to get into that. Again, the link will be in the description. Do check it out if you wish after this video. So here black's best move is bishop b4, giving a check to the white king. And over here white has three ways to respond: knight c3, knight bd2, and bishop d2. We are going to have a look at these one by one. Let's begin with the move knight d2, blocking the check with the knight. And over here, as the black player, this move d5 is the simplest way to continue for you to gain equality. Because after e into d5, knight into d5, a knight is centralized and is on a square in front of the d4 pawn, which is isolated, which is a really good spot for the knight. And the d4 pawn is isolated because it has no pawns on the c or the e files. The pawn is all alone, and that's known as an isolated pawn. And after knight into d5, black has gained easy equality and should not be very difficult for you to understand these positions. And yes, you can also continue with knight into e4 instead. Over here you can grab the pawn and get away with it, but I gotta warn you, this is going to be a bit complicated. You will be up a pawn, white may get some compensation, and you gotta continue accurately. So that's why I'm just suggesting this move d5, which is very simple and easy to understand. Now going back, that was for the move knight d2. The other option, the second option, is bishop d2. And after bishop d2 again, we follow the same concept of breaking open the center. So after bishop into d2, trading the bishops, we have this move d5, immediately attacking the center. Over here, the pawn and the bishop. So after after pawn into, knight into, white goes queen b3, attacking the d5 knight, because if we try to move the knight away anywhere, we lose our f7 pawn after bishop into pawn, and that's not what we want to do. So over here, the best way you can continue with is playing this move knight a5, attacking the queen, and that is why he really can't capture the d5 knight. And you're also attacking this bishop, by the way, and you'd be really happy if you could get the bishop, the light square bishop, but white will not give it away. White can continue with queen a4. over here, and you would have to again retreat with knight c6. But okay, let me show you what really happens for c6. C6 looks very natural. You're blocking the check and also defending the knight with the queen. Now, this looks very natural, but this is a bad move, and you should not be doing this if you are the black player. Let me show you why. Because white can simply go with bishop into d5, and after queen d5, you develop your queen. He can castle, and let's say you just castle. Let's just keep it as an equal position. Now, if you just notice the positioning of the pieces, this knight on a5 is really badly placed, does not have any squares to go to. In the future, white will have ideas of rook e1, rook ac1, let's say b4, and trying to trap the knight. And to save this knight of yours, you would have to play very passively. You'll have to play moves like b6 and knight b7, and that is not what you want to do. You want to keep your pieces active, and therefore this gives white a very good advantage to play with. So the move c6 is a big mistake. Instead, you can just come back with knight c6, and again white can go queen b3, and this could end in a draw by repetition again if you continue with this move knight a5. Now, if you're content with the draw and if your opponent is also ready to repeat, then well, this could be the variation. But what I do in these positions is, after this move queen b3, I do not go knight a5. I rather go with this move knight ce7, defending my d5 knight. And the game can continue castling, castling. And here, as the black player, let me just make a move for white. Your idea should be to take control of the square in front of the d4 pawn, that is the d5 square, take full control of it. And yes, as you see in the position, white may have some kind of space advantage because of the pawn on d4, as well as he has better piece play, but at the cost of the isolated pawns. So this variation, both sides have equal chances because of the pros and cons that I have just mentioned. Now let's go on to the main line. Let's go back. Let's go back. There we go. And this move knight c3 is the main line. After which we can continue knight into e4, picking up the free pawn, and white castles. And over here, knight into c3 seems very interesting and seems like we are winning a pawn, but this is not the best way to continue. Let me show you why. So if we do capture knight into c3, white can capture b into c3, and now bishop into c3 would be a big mistake because white has this very nice move bishop a3. Our king is stuck in the center. The bishop beautifully controls the f8 square, and white will be ready to even sacrifice an exchange if required. He'll be ready to give up that rook just for the attack on our king, and our king will be doomed in the center, and it will definitely lead to a loss. So this is not good. Even by mistake, let me say, if you do play knight into c3 by mistake, not remembering to not capture this pawn, try to get back and you can still try to hold the position. Just the capturing the pawn is a big mistake here. But anyway, better than knight c3, of course. It's not the best move. Now, a better move than that is giving up the bishop, which we usually do not do, but in this position you got to. And after bishop into knight, and pawn into bishop, again knight into c3 would be a big blunder once again in this position because of this very nice move queen e1, delivering a check and attacking the knight at the same time. So we can't really save both, and we don't want to lose a piece. So in this position, what we got to do is play this move d5, and this is why now you realize that giving the bishop was a wise choice, because we have a well placed knight on e4 already. Now we have a pawn over here defending the knight, and on a central square our bishop is ready to develop. We are happy to castle next, and black is having a good position. I think he's very comfortable and is doing great. So this is one of the lines on how you should be continuing. But again, this is if he captures, by the way, sorry. This is if he captures b into c3. The main line over here goes d5, where white is trying to complicate stuff even more on the board because our king is still stuck in the center. We should not be forgetting that. And now we have our bishop attacked as well as a knight attacked. So over here, the simplest way for us to continue is play this move bishop f6, save our bishop. We are also eyeing this b2 pawn in the future, and we are planning to castle 2 as soon as possible. So we captured a piece earlier on c3, we can give away the piece back. So here, if white does capture the knight, you can just capture with the b pawn, and 2 pawns up should be very comfortable to play with black. You can just castle next, play this move d5. I think it's very comfortable. And even if you have to give up a pawn later on, well, you're 2 pawns up. You give up 1 pawn, you'll still be a pawn up. So while white does have another option, instead of capturing this knight over here, white does have another option, and that is this move rook e1. And in this way, white will try to complicate stuff even more, again attacking this knight while this knight was already attacked earlier. And the best way for you to continue here is play this move knight e7, save your knight. The knight on e4 falls. Well, that's not an issue. You can play this move d6. And yes, as the black player, you are up a pawn, but white is going to have piece play in compensation to that, and that is how the game is going to go. Yes, I forgot to mention another variation in between. Instead of this move bishop f6 is the main line in this position, and that's why I showed it to you. There's also this move knight e5 that black can play instead, and this is a bit more complicated than the bishop f6 line, so I have not mentioned it. So I'm just going to stick with this bishop f6 line, very simple to understand. So as an outline, what I would like to mention is white gets control of the center. You may win a pawn or two in that process. White may have compensation for the pawns with good piece play, but white will also have an isolated pawn in a few variations which you may have to target. So I've basically explained the basic ideas and plans. So I hope you really gained value from this video and you really enjoyed it. And if you did like this video, then please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the bell notification if you do not want to miss more content from us. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.